Bonjour. Welcome to the virtual edition, your trusted news source. I'm your host, Joanna Bastard.
And I am also your host, Mahannah Bananarama. New developments in our new virtual reality. The readers and writers of SPiEL, the live quarterly reading event for people who don't usually like reading events, have been forced off stage due to a blooming inertia brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. Co-founders Joanna, Baxter, and Dayna Mahannah have had to scramble against the pressing stillness and into the digital realm in order to avoid the risks associated with speaking moistly on their fellow humans. Back to you, Joanna.
And thank you, Wayna. With an influx in screen time and Zoom calls, shortened attention spans have spiked to dangerous levels. During a press conference earlier this month, the founders revealed their famous 5-minute format would be reduced to a less famous 3-minute format to reduce the impact of prolonged screen time. They also disclosed the theme of this month's SPiEL event, Still Life. Now, we know how sensitive writers are, and let's face it, readers too. We can feel, and we want all our SPiELers to know that we are still determined, still positive, still very much alive. It's still life, friends. Jelena?
That's for certain, Joanna. According to ambiguous sources, the two hosts have found these days to be introspective, contemplative, and even meditative.
Looks like Joanna and Dayna are on a fast track to finding themselves. But it is the readers and writers of SPiEL who have truly stepped up, examined the stillness in this so-called life, and put it on the page and the camera for the rest of the world.
This just in, Joanna. In yet another unprecedented development, the two SPiEL hosts have just sent in this letter to Virtual Edition. We would like to thank our thoughtful and patient writers who contributed to the Virtual Edition of SPiEL, our 8th time around the sun. As you know, SPiEL is a quarterly reading event that welcomes writers from all levels, experience, and backgrounds. We started SPiEL to offer an accessible platform to anyone who has a story to tell. In light of COVID-19, the two of us, Joanna and Dayna, respectively, are continuing to contemplate the enforced stillness upon our lives. Our focus is on healthy eating practices and reading important literature, and unfortunately, we have not found a spare moment to present our usual show. Storytelling is still alive and well through this time, and we're handing the baton to you, Virtual Edition, as our trusted news source, to make sure these stories are told. All we ask is that you please remind the audience to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and listen to our podcast. Well, Joanna,
This has never happened before, but we're getting a thumbs up from the producers. Okay, well, here it is. Looks like we have the first reader. Ow. Our first reader is Noémia Attia. Noémie is a filmmaker who likes to write sometimes. She lives in Montreal on the 3rd floor of a brick building. She never writes a piece without an invented word in it. Her life goal is to taste all the flavors of Quebec's Coaticook ice cream.
As far as I remember, I've always wanted to be an inanimate being. When I was 4, I would hide in a little corner behind the laundry basket in my parents' bathroom and sit there still and quiet, eyes staring in the void. Sometimes I would even climb inside the basket and close it over the top of my head. My parents would find me there minutes or hours later. They would say my name in front of my face without a response from me. And I was perfectly able to talk. I could even pronounce potato, and everybody would understand I wanted to eat a tomato. A few months ago, as I was lost in the internet abyss, I stumbled upon a music video that very much appealed to me. It was called I Want to Be a Fruit. The rest of the verse was, "'Cause fruits don't have feelings." Never in my life have I felt that my essence had been so truly captured. Feelings are too much. I don't want them. My life would be way more successful without them. I'd be grounded. I'd be like a tomato and stare at life while growing fat and juicy and red. I could even be a kitchen table and witness all of the dinner parties and never have to say a word. But I can't close the basket lid over my head anymore because I'm too big. I can't say I identify as a kitchen table because it would be offending to kitchen tables. What about being a sentient being repulses me so much? I ask myself in the shower every other day, thinking back of the times that I didn't say anything when a boy fucked me without a condom, even though I was not okay with that. Does a tomato have desires? And if yes, can she tell me how she deals with them? Or does she want to trade bodies?
Sareh Donaher is a published poet and a recent graduate of Simon Fraser University's The Writers' Studio. She is currently editing her first book of poems, which recounts her family's journey to Canada from Iran. When she is not writing, Sareh can be found pursuing debauchery and memorable moments.
Hi everyone, my name is Sareh Donaher, and I'd like to read 2 poems for you, both of which are from my manuscript. The first one needs a little bit of context because it references a movie that came out in 1991. The movie is called Not Without My Daughter. It endured a troubling cultural impact for Iranians because it was used as evidence of the barbarity of Iranian culture and Iranian men. So I've written a light poem about all this. It's supposed to be funny. The poem is called Oh, We're Italian. My older cousins used to pretend they were Italian. It made everyone feel more at ease. Unless you gave off mafioso vibes, which my cousins definitely did not. They were more the awkward, sweet, preppy tennis player type. There was nothing to fear in an Italian. Italians have pasta, it's amore, and pious nuns. Iranians have sour cherries. Hell be to the US chants, and Khomeini, the creepiest looking leader alongside Voldemort and Sauron. It was safer to say you were Italian. No fear, no sidewayed glances, nobody asking, have you seen the movie Not Without My Daughter? My next poem is called The Sound. In Tehran, does the sound build? The holy sound. Allahu Akbar. Does it billow their gray lungs, gray from smoke and exhaust fumes, release with the fluttering wings of morning birds? Or does that only occur in movies of foreign countries that seemingly, luckily, get along with the West? Powerful, homogeneous West, like the popular group, decides which weird kid is cool to talk to and which one is too weird, banished, isolated. Tariffs, sanctions. Sanctions cause hungry, breastfeeding mothers, poverty-stricken fathers prostituting their daughters, children out at midnight, standing on meridians, selling flowers and sweet lemons to cars stuck at red lights. While the mullah's kids attend private universities abroad, drive Lamborghinis down narrow cobblestone streets lined with yellow jasmines, where my mother used to play. LV veils fluttering in the wind, gangsta rap on the subwoofer, authentic Chanel dangling from chains, sipping Russian vodka. Hashtag untouchables. Allahu Akbar.
Next up, James Callaghan. Everyone knows the famous piece of writing advice, write what you know. Well, James has had what many would consider a weird life. This is how he excuses writing weird stories. He enjoys the opportunities presented by SPiEL readings to ham it up a bit, and hopes you do, too.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Silliname. Today we will be undertaking a short, guided meditation to help relieve the tensions of these trying times. Close your eyes. Place your hands flat on the armrests or the desk in front of you. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Deep. Feel your lungs expand with the air, forcing you to correct your abysmal posture. Hold it. Your fears, your negative feelings, your stress, put them into the dual whoopee cushions in your chest. Not too much. We don't want to weaken them. Now exhale. Slowly through your mouth. You're pushing out the negative energy, pushing it out and away. You should be done in exhaling by now, unless you're a pearl diver, I guess. So inhale through your nose. Pull in the good, natural energy of the stuffy air in your room. Hopefully it doesn't smell of farts and dirty laundry, but we'll have to work with what we've got. Hold it. Pour a little more of your negative thoughts and feelings into that air. Your grievances, your fears, even the stress that comes from being profoundly horny. Let it all go. Exhale through your mouth. Blow it all away. You might feel a pinch at the base of your skull. It is important that you don't move. Keep your hands flat. Keep breathing deep. The pinch isn't important. Nothing is important in this moment, but your breathing in, cleansing oxygen, and out the bad thoughts. The pinch was definitely not us gaining access to your brain, so just don't worry. Keep breathing in, hold, out, with your fears, especially the one about why would we need to access your brain, which we are definitely not doing. Hoover in those happy, clean air molecules. Don't even worry your head. We would only be harvesting your early childhood memories, the ones you're not doing anything with, besides forming the entire basis of your adult personality. Remember to breathe in with your nose and out from your mouth. We're almost finished. We just need to implant the lie that no one can remember their early childhood. You will think you always thought that everyone knows that. Push the bad thoughts out. Breathe in the stale air. Open your eyes. Don't you feel better?
Jenny's story. Jenny's story was born in Yellowknife. She was diagnosed with low-functioning autism at 3 and given a bleak future. However, here she is at 27, extremely high-functioning, and is a 2D and 3D animator, and best-selling and award-winning author of her fantasy fiction book, Dysnomia, the first of a trilogy and illustrated entirely by Jenny. The sequel is set to be released at the end of 2020.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Jenny Story. I'm doing the Still Life Virtual Edition. So the book I'm going to be reading today is one of my own that I wrote called They Snow Me Out, Outcast on a Distant Moon, which is a young adult fantasy fiction novel. And I'll be reading the first chapter for you. Chapter 1, The Chase. Sitting, waiting for something to happen. I peered from my purple sunglasses and covered my face with the day's newspaper, waiting for a signal from my partners. But everything was still normal in the food court. People were eating, talking amongst themselves, and enjoying their day. My mission, along with my partners, was to find and arrest Don Franco. It sounds like a silly name, but when it comes to being a thief, he's the best of the best in Jurassic. He has robbed 4 banks, 6 jewelry stores, and managed to steal a couple of jewels from our Princess Rose's castle. I looked over to the boys, Eli and Knuckles, sitting to my right at another table. Then at Sheena, who was very close to them, sitting at a booth. But nothing was happening. Suddenly, Eli flicked his newspaper twice. Bingo! He was here. Don Franco was sitting down, eating a sandwich and reading the newspaper. He was a very big man with a few wisps of black hair on his head. You could barely see his legs because his tummy covered them. How somebody like him managed to steal from all those places, I'll never know. Everyone looked at me, waiting for my command. I flicked my hair, giving them the signal to charge in and arrest him. Eli, Knuckles, and I closed in while Sheena ran out in front of him. Don Franco, Sheena shouted. You are under arrest for burglary. Don Franco grabbed a ketchup bottle and squeezed it. Ketchup squirted all over Sheena's face. Sheena screamed and he made a run for it. Get him, I shouted. We ran after him. My team ran out to the exit door near the food court while I chased after him. He ran past all the clothing stores until we saw a young man with a bookstore on wheels. Don Franco pushed him down. Hey! The young man yelled. Sorry, kid, said Don Franco with a smirk on his face, but I've got to run. He grabbed the cart and shoved it towards me. Running back at full speed, I tried to dodge it, but a corner hit me in the back and knocked me to the ground. I fell so hard, I felt a friction burn on my right arm. Don Franco is really going to regret messing with me.
Janet Walmsley was born and raised in Manitoba. She's an actor and talent scout. Janet is an advocate for shining a positive for autism, as her daughter Jenny was diagnosed with it, which prompted her to write a book about Jenny's journey through her own eyes.
Hi, my name is Janet Walmsley, and I wanted to read my book for the Still Life Virtual Edition. It's called The Autistic Author and Animator, and it's a book that I wrote myself, and it's about my daughter's journey with autism. And I'm going to read a little bit from one of the chapters. The most important goals in my eyes were in the areas of social, emotional, and behavioral development. The overall objective was to help Jenny develop her social skills, as this is an area that made her quite anxious. We hope to see her develop and maintain friendships with peers her age. Jenny's classroom teacher was to role model appropriate social skills and to support and encourage her to make friends. Jenny would also do small group practice with a certified education assistant to increase her participation in class. Jenny went above and beyond all these goals in a shorter period of time than anticipated, much to the excitement and happiness of everyone at the school and her family. Her self-esteem fluctuated wildly, and I had to work on it with her every day. I'm sure a lot of her teachers and some of her students didn't even notice, but for Jenny, every day was a social challenge and often resulted in tears. Lisa, Jenny's case manager, had been told Jenny came with a label, and though she agreed that Jenny didn't talk much, she maintained that Jenny listened very well. Lisa said when Jenny spoke, she spoke with purpose and wisdom, choosing her words carefully. She also said that Jenny took a different path, not the one expected. She would choose her path carefully, always keeping her final destination in mind. And even when the path appeared to be too steep or treacherous, Jenny forged on. One perspective that Lisa shared about Jenny, one that is my favorite, was that she thought the label should have said, "The best is yet to come." Lisa added that she was very thankful to have known Jenny, and that Jenny reminds her every day that a story is not written until the author writes it. and Jenny is a great writer.
Mac Fairbairn is a 30-year-old, 6'3", single writer from North Vancouver. He played basketball for the University of Saskatchewan Huskies, then quit and transferred to the Capilano College Blues, then quit and began to work for the Capilano Courier, then quit and became introspective and moody and regretful and wore jean jackets and smoked cigarettes for a decade. He now writes and chews Nicorette, which he plans to quit. He can do 35 push-ups in a row.
This is called Her Sister. I have forgotten nothing. She carried the smell of damp dishcloths, mildewed laundry, and cigarettes, always cigarettes, in a daycare. Jane confined her to the kitchen, where she sat on a stool behind a laminate island, like a mob boss on a floral moo-moo, both elbows on the table, rock silent in front of the children, save for cigarette pulls. Better silent, for her vocabulary was as ineffable and mysterious to us as our dreams to her, dreams of cartwheels, stubbed toes, and barefoot walks on the melted asphalt that fluttered to her through the kitchen windows. Her head was wreathed in coarse, unconditioned black hair, with faded gray streaks like the wear on the hood of an old Mustang, and her beat-up nature seemed to increase her size, her bulk, her sleeping inertia, much like seeing Boudica or Joan of Arc or Anne Bonny, not on a battlefield or a pirate ship, but seated at McDonald's in the morning eating pancakes. The kitchen was quintessential 1970s interior design, but not the type you find on Pinterest. It was browns and oranges and yellows and parchment floral wallpaper, like the confluence of shortcut fingernails rubbed on elementary school carpets in the last 17 and a half minutes of Eric Clapton's Layla. Next to a large humming ancient refrigerator was the door to the carport and the asphalt driveway and the retaining wall that was 3 feet high but seemed 30, and Hoskins Road and streams of cars and mountain bikers, even back then. Jane designated her sister to keep an eye on the door, to keep us safe, and this was ostensibly her job, although her passion was for her cigarettes. She sat there like Cerberus and guarded the door. A ceiling light bathed her in crepuscular glow, even in the day, especially in the day, when summer made noises seem distant and viscous. It hooded her eyebrows in shadow like a crow, and gave her 2 noses, and made her fingers dance across the laminate like snakes. We were the forest musings of Romulus and Remus, and she a teetering aqueduct in fuzzy slippers, a gargantuan grasshopper tribute to year-long employment, a fallen gong that had made no sound, a child lost in Costco, now grown up and employed on the janitorial staff. I enjoyed immensely that kitchen. When all the other kids had been picked up and gone home, and the sun dropped in the windows, and I sat on the opposite stool across the island to her, I never got her name, mainly due to awe, much as I would not have asked Blackbeard or Santa or Thorin Oakenshield. I tapped my fingers on the laminate with her and listened to her talk to Jane's back as Jane washed dishes and finally did things for herself and her own life. And Jane half listened while I sat enthralled, and her sister yacked about men, and I felt I had been initiated in some kind of club as I watched her animate and rise from her stool and stab with her cigarette and twirl her slippers on her toes and spread ashes on the island, ashes that Jane would wipe up with a damp cloth. Finally.
Our next reader is Sasha Duncan. Sasha is a writer, filmmaker, and teacher, offering guidance from her personal multitude of stumbles, bumbles, and breakthroughs across multiple mediums because, hey, someone should learn something.
Hi, I'm Sasha, and this is my still life. Have you ever lived in the suburbs? Have you walked by house again, house, in the stillness of 8 a.m.? Have you raced breathless across the highway that divides your kingdom of repetition from civilization, a strip mall? Have you braced yourself against a cement barrier and let the whip of passing cars and trucks and semis take away your breath? Was that how you learned to feel? Have you even lived if you haven't felt the sticky squelch of melted and then dried Slurpee against the bottom of your Keds as you made the 4th or 5th trip to Max that day for Pixie Sticks? Your mom was supposed to buy Converse, but Keds were on sale at a shoe warehouse and you think they look the same, so who cares? But your friends disagree and so you hate them. Have you ever melted cheese on a plate and eaten it for a meal? Have you tramped through yards and down streets and across greenways over and over and over looking for a difference, any difference? Do you enter your friends' homes without knocking, sometimes without yelling, sometimes it's a ghost, a shell? Their parents look surprised to see you the first few times it happens, your sock-clad feet simple whispers against their hardwood floors as you walk into the kitchen. They look like pine, but we're really laminate. They will adjust to your entitled entrances as time goes on and become used to the banshees holed up in their basement for Saturdays and Sundays that never seem to end. They never lock their doors. Have you ever walked brazenly down a boulevard in the middle of a winter night wearing only a borrowed hoodie, 2 men with elephant trunks for faces emblazoned on its breast? Is this the memory in which you took your very first drag of a cigarette, the moment you were the most alive but the closest to the edge of something deep and massive you didn't understand? Your cells could barely contain all the life you felt within your body, even as you poisoned it, even as it froze, even as it marched toward the inevitable. You were invincible. Is there a weight, a knot, a sickness in your stomach and your chest? It tells you that you are safe here, but you know this is a lie and really you are stuck. Can you wait for it? Can you wait for the moment of escape? It cannot come soon enough, but it seems so far away, and anyway, you do not know what you will do with it when it arrives. You are not brave enough to leave, not yet. Not with a gut that says go, and a heart that says stay, and a mind that is exploding and imploding, holding these 2 impulses together in your stretching, straining body. There is no time here and everything is still, and yet you will outgrow this place and leave, never to return. You can't, you won't, it's gone. Will you ever miss it? Will you ever look backward to everything that was, when everything that is laid at your feet and waiting for your step? Nostalgia is not a word you ever thought would be a feeling, but here it is, and it's pointed at the suburbs. Your trap, your past, your home. It is a myth you carry with you now, and it goes house, 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 house again. Thank you.
Jelena Markovic. Jelena is a PhD student in philosophy at the University of British Columbia. Her research is on transformative experiences in grief and illness. She writes poetry and stories because they are the only ways to express the true emo-ness of her experience.
The tick climbs to the top of a branch and waits. If the tick smells butyric acid, it jumps. If it lands on something warm, it bites and ingests whatever liquid it receives. Then the tick returns to the ground. Then it lays its eggs and dies. This is not the most important part. The most important part is in how long the tick can wait. The tick can wait for up to 17 years. What happens to the waiting tick? Does the waiting tick live in a world? Does it live in oblivion? In one sense, there's everything to say. Events in the past don't live in the past. They live in what they have made of you. In another sense, there is nothing to say. How can there be anything to say when nothing has been done? Ontology of a corpse. Hagiography of the machine. Every time I fall in love, I enter the world of the living for a brief moment. Again, I am between the two of you. The dead within. The body is gesture of inertness. The body is sigil of the dead. The body numb. The body is the numbness that is death. The body dormant. The body is nothing. The body is exactly what's around it. The body is nestled into the rock face of matter, stuff, awaiting penetration by the intellect, which is form. It's form, but not now. Now it is stuff, and I am safe, and I watch, and this doesn't hurt me. The escape velocity of death. Tell me. I can't beat my way out. I come pre-pulverized. Apparently, I'm meant to relate to others with this non-reciprocal, non-networking matter, this charcoal, this clay, this substance. Was it you? Was it the absence of you? The devil of reductionism over an icy river. The nightmare of all that there is. The ideology of the dead. In the books, they whisper to us, I've got a secret. What you really are is something that you're not. A part. It's intentionless and cares nothing for you. What you really are is the driverless vehicle of information. Oh, information, the sweet key to everything. It's information like two molecules exchanging an atom. Forget it. You're right. We're the pinwheels of response. Maybe I'm simply touch-starved, double-paned, blank, a noise-canceling window. There's something old and blind in me it turns away as a function. There's the void of the good and the void of the bad. The fake one is smaller and thinks it's doing something, only for itself.
There you have it. No, never thought I would see the day that as a news anchor I would be hosting a reading event. Not what I went to school for. You know what I mean?
Ha! Likewise, Dayna. Once again, we are your trusted news source, the virtual edition. Thanks for tuning in.